Welcome back to the show, everybody. In this video, we're going to be building a Honda ATC200X. And by the end of the video, it's going to look as pretty as this thing over here. So let's get the frame up on the stand and let's get after it. All right, what's first? Let's take the steering stem, some grease and some bearings, get the triple tree slid up in there, and we'll start putting the front end together. Okay, I guess I probably should have dusted this stuff off here and made it presentable for the video. Yeah, we'll get it all cleaned up by the end of it. No worries. Okay, fork tubes. Rebuilt the front shocks fairly recently, probably about a month ago. But, yep, those will be ready to go in. Slide these in one at a time. Make sure I get the right one on the right side here. Just oiling things up a little bit here with some penetrating oil so they slide in a little easier. Yeah, looking sharp. I think for now I'm just going to put one bolt in here because I don't have new hardware. I have to order a set of bolts for this, but for now, this will at least hold everything in place. Yeah, and one more piece I need to look for. These nuts with the Schrader valve on them are all really crappy looking, but just in the meantime, I got these on eBay. Definitely not stock, but it's not a stock three-wheeler, so what do you think? I think it looked pretty sharp. Handlebar action. Excellent. Oh, I almost forgot. I need one more thing on here. Since this is a 200SX, I need my mounting plate for the dash pad. I made this out of some sheet metal hacked together. This is going to mount here, and then once that's on there, we're going to mount the TRX200SX dash pad, lights, keys right there. And we'll set this guy on low here so we don't strip this out. Right about there. Let's hand torque those down. I don't want to strip out that aluminum. Ooh, those are old and crusty. I might need to heat those up. Not that hot. That should do. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Cool. Now it's time for the fancy LED headlight. I kind of modified a Maier 250R headlight surround to fit this LED driving light. Actually, I did that in this video, if you want to check that out later. But I'm curious to see how this is going to look on here. So I don't have my straps yet, so I'm just going to zip tie it on here. All right, things are looking really, really good here. Got the 86, 87 fender bolted up. Got the 250R headlight on there. Yeah. I think next we'll probably work on putting the front wheel on, brake assembly, get the brakes on, handlebars or the handlebar controls, brake lever, not the clutch, brake over here. Yeah, okay. Where to? Ah, axle. Yeah, this is always really fun trying to get everything all lined up here so I can get the axle through. Let's see. Oh, look at that. I'll be darned, first try. Okay, now I think it's time to get the motor in here. Let's see if I can do this without scratching anything up too bad. Oh, lovely. Okay, so now that the motor is in, some people have asked how I built the motor mounts to fit the TRX engine into the ATC frame. Had to do some chopping on the frame here and there to get everything to fit. The motor mounts, I had to drill a hole up here and weld a pipe on the inside to move, and made this bracket to move this forward. The front, that's a pretty standard homemade bracket there. Over here I had to bend the bracket a little bit because the motor has to offset a little bit to the side so the sprocket lines up, but that's how that works. Up here, pretty simple, just a homemade bracket back there. Now the back, things are a little bit different. Squeeze down here. Okay, so I modified the frame a little bit. I have a piece of heavy-duty angle iron that I welded to the frame and reinforced back here. Same thing up here. Piece of heavy-duty angle iron that goes across here, and gusset, welded to the frame. And then I made these intermediate C brackets right here. You can kind of see I welded some nuts to them. They will slide down into there and run a bolt there, and then a normal bolt through the engine like that. And the same thing here. Another intermediate bracket that will slide in right up there, bolt in, and then run a bolt all the way through it. Heck yeah, this thing is turning out hot, hot, hot. Look at that. Just beautiful. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I think it's time to take a little break from the mechanicking and put some decals on there. A little glass cleaner. Wet that up a little bit. Decal. Trying to get too much greasy fingerprints on it. Lay that kind of where it needs to be. Fast forward a little bit, we got the front end of the bike pretty much put together. I've got all the silver painted back there, so I think I'm going to take the swing arm and get that on right now so we can get this thing balanced out on the table so I don't have to worry about these snaps breaking and the whole thing going. This is the stretch swing arm that I had. I filled the voids in a little bit to make it look a little bit more stock. I also welded some brackets on here to mount 86, 87 skid plate to it. Alright, swing arm is in. I got new needle bearings and seals and everything pounded into swing arm there. Got some new chain tugs there. So now it's time for the axle. Let's coat this thing up with some Never Sees. Slide that in the rear carrier, which I put new bearings and seals back there as well. So this thing is going to be a brand new tricycle when we're all said and done. And for the axle that was on the bike was nice and straight, so I kept it. Ended up painting it since this is just a rider, because this side over here, the chain was thrown quite a few times, and it was all scuffed up and rusty over there, so I sanded that up, put a little filler there, here and there, and painted that up all nice and pretty. It's not zinc plated, but it looks fine. I rebuilt the rear shock about a month or so ago. That's ready to go back in here. So, and also since the swing arm was stretched right here and right here, that mounting location on the swing arm was pulled back a little bit. So I modified the frame and I welded a new spring mount or a shock mount right back here versus the original position right here to try to get this thing back to the same angle that it used to be. And also it lifted the rear end of the trike up a little bit to get back to the stock height on the back. So we'll pop this guy in and get the tires on here. We should be able to get it on the ground and have it standing on its own 2 feet, 3 feet. That's in the way. Okay, sprocket side's done. Work over on the rotor and the caliper over there. Check that out. Brand new rotor. Need to get some more Loctite. I'm almost out. And for the rear calipers, on my 86 I rebuilt the original caliper, but for this one, since this is a custom bike, I just went on eBay and got a reproduction for this one. We'll just test out and see how they work. Yeah, that does not look too shabby. Yeah, we'll see how that reproduction eBay special caliper works. But sure looks nice. Well, now for some tires and wheels. Put a little never sees on the splines. Brand new DWT rims. Freshly painted hubs. Lovely. Washer. New nuts. Cotter pin. We'll be good to go. Yeah, that is looking really, really sharp. Really sharp. Kenda Viper tires. Lovely. Okay, now fast forward to the next morning. Didn't record a lot of stuff, but I got a lot put together. Foot pegs are coming together. Got the rear master cylinder on. Rear end is looking really good under here. Yeah, now we're just to the point where we got all the little odds and ends. You know, I think, since this is a 200SX now, I wanted to get rid of that X. Do a little test run on this side to leave that 200. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna rub the seat down with a little lacquer thinner and get that X off of there. So I took a little of the lacquer thinner sitting right over there, put it on a paper towel, and we'll just slowly rub that X off of there. Yeah, this will work. I initially wanted to put 200SX on here, but this will work for now. At a later date, I'll probably take all the 200 off, make a stencil that says 200SX, take some white vinyl dye, and make my own 200SX emblem on there. But for now, this will work. I'm gonna wipe the lacquer thinner off with a little glass cleaner. Now it's carburetor time. I got my custom made intake that I made off of a ATC110 fork. I made that in this video right there. Got on eBay, and I want to know, are they still making brand new carbs for this engine, this Type 2 Honda engine? Or somebody making a knockoff. You'll have to let me know here once I get this out of here. I mean, sure says Japan, but for the price of this thing I got it for, I think this thing might be a knockoff. You have to let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Yeah, that looks pretty darn sharp in there. Cool. Now we'll route the choke cable. So we'll have my dash pad mounted choke going on. Only 200X probably in the world that has that, I must say. Okay, let's check that out. Nice. Now we're on to doing the exhaust. And the pipe here, up to this point, is the original TRX200SX exhaust. And from this point, I've welded some stuff together to get it to fit in through the carb and give enough clearance to the carbon frame there. I'm still piecing the back part together. It looks just, man, it looks like something. And these are all rough measurements that I put together when I was welding this together. So hopefully, everything should fit together. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. That's gonna work great. Yeah, I'll finish this weld there. Probably put some of this heat wrap around here because I need to squeak the intake tubing in there. But yeah, that's gonna work fine. And I got the muffler all painted up. Let's get that bolted up here. Looking pretty sharp. Got some heat wrap back here as well so I don't melt the fender. It's about a thumb's width away from the fender, so I don't think I'm gonna have problems with the pipe burning the muffler or pipe burning the plastic, but I guess we'll see once we ride it for a bit. So now we need to get the carburetor connected back to the air box. So I drilled a hole in the side of the air box here, and I got online and got some turbo intercooler piping. Stuff can handle tons of heat. So I'm going to shove this in the air box. This will go right around the carb. And then in the air box, I'll get a foam air filter that will fit that aluminum coupling right there. So this should pop right on here if my measurements were right. Yep, that's going to work fantastic. All right, so we're going from there back into the air box. Now I just need to find a filter that is 50 mm's. Now it's time for some electrical wiring, and luckily enough, the TRX200SX harness fits fairly nicely on here. I've got a little extra wire back here, but everything in the middle and up to the handlebars works out really, really well. So it's nice being able to keep the stock Honda wiring and electronics on this thing versus having to put a Chinese pit bike harness on here like I've done in the past on some other rides. Which way do I want to run the coil? It should work like this. Nice. Now for the battery. Since this thing has the TRX200SX engine in it, it's got electric start. Built a little battery box that hangs up from underneath here. We'll bolt this guy in. Get the rest of the wiring put together. And see if this thing will fire. Yeah, I just drilled a couple holes back here, up there. And the battery just sits in rather nicely in between the frame rail there. Well, things are coming together pretty darn nicely. Got our wiring done, exhaust done, intake tubing done, throttle on there. It's a little tight to clear that spot in there, but I had a little 90-degree guide that I threw in there. It works pretty darn good. Feels great. Great, great, great. I think now it's time to work on the brakes. Probably work on the cable operated stuff here first. Still waiting on a brake line from over there. But a little bit of cleanup back here. Need to tie this stuff up. But everything else looks good enough. Also need to figure out the headlight wires, get them onto the LED headlight, but we do have lights. The LED light looks pretty darn sharp. Yep, got running light in the back too. I think this is off of a TRX200SX, but no, a TRX125, yeah. But fit right on there, so that'll work just fine. And now we'll get some black Tygon fuel line on here. Would have been smarter if I would put the fuel line on before I put the tank on, but oh well, we'll get there. Okay, we'll run this through. Get a little fuel filter hooked up in there. Hook it up to the petcock. Throw some gas in here and see if my tank liner is lining. That's enough for now, just in case it is going to leak overnight. It's not going to leak overnight. Okay, since I still don't know what's going on with the starter relay, let's just jump it here quick. See if this guy will start. See if that carburetor off eBay is junk or not. Oh, fired. And I think my battery's a little dead. I have to go to the store tomorrow and grab a new one. What do you think of that, folks? Sounds pretty fantastic. Yeah, freshly built motor, new clutches, new clutch spreads, new top end. Sweet. So the exhaust and the air intake tube are done. Things are tight, but everything's gonna work fine, I think. I mean, this is all heat wrapped here, and it's a good that width away from the bowl, the carburetor. There's heat shielding here in the space between the tubing, and this is silicone tubing. This is made for turbo intercoolers, so this is definitely going to be able to take any heat coming off of that, no problem. But yeah, I think that looks fine. Fine. And once you get the fender on, you're not going to see any of this. Yeah, for a custom job, yeah, this is going to work. Just need to get, I found a uni foam air filter with a 15-degree offset or a bend on it that's going to fit right in here perfectly. Once that comes in on eBay, we'll pop that on. Now we'll get the reservoir on here. Originally, it was supposed to mount back here, but it got in the way of the 200SX muffler. So made it weld a little bracket up here to relocate it forward a little bit. Okay, so we're getting really close, folks. I got the TRX200SX brake lever hooked up here. I got the cables. This one is going to the rear parking brake. The caliper here. Right there. So it kind of acts as a rear handbrake. But this right here is the special sauce. I got the R button. Hit that. And I've got reverse. Okay, fast forward a little bit, because I'm about done with this video here. We are, bam, finished. Everything's all hooked up and looking fine. Let's see if this thing's going to start. Take it out for a spin. Lovely. Lovely. All right. Open up the garage door, go for a little rip. Okay, let's see if I can run this thing without the clutch in one hand while holding the camera. She sounds nice. Nice. Yeah, we gotta get that clutch fixed. Okay, my first motor I've ever rebuilt all